Hello, today we're going to be working on the viola part for Goin to Boston. Goin to Boston is an Appalachian folk song, and this string arrangement is arranged by Carrie Lane Grusel. This is a really fun song, and it's got some kind of challenging bow techniques in it, but I think you're going to find that it's really satisfying to play once you get them. So the first thing we want to do with any new piece of music is look at the key signature first. So in this case, we start out in the key of D major, and that means we have F sharp and C sharp. So if we review our finger patterns, we've got, if we had any C's on the G string, we would need to use high third finger for that, and same with the F sharp on the C string. So it would be high third finger on the C string and on the G string. However, I don't think they give us any of those high third finger notes. I do see some C's on the G string, but they are marked C natural, so those would be just regular third finger, not high third finger. On the D string, we have a 2-3 finger pattern, so F sharp and G natural, and same thing on the A string, 2-3 finger pattern, high second finger, not low. We do have some C naturals in this one though, so watch out for those. And if there are any on the A string, I think most of them are on the G string in this one, but if there were some on the A string, and right at the end there is one, that is low second finger on the A string. So think about your finger patterns. We also do have a key change in this piece at measure 25. So that is a key change to C major. And they notice there are 2 natural signs there. That cancels out the 2 sharps that were in the key signature. That key change is only in effect for 4 measures, however, so at 29 we are back into D major, so just make sure that you are watching out for that. Other challenges that we encounter in this one, we have some rhythm challenges. There are quite a few 16th notes here, but they are all groups of 16th notes on the same note, so you just need to really get used to playing 16th notes with the bow, but you're not also changing fingers while you're doing that, so that makes it a little bit more manageable. There are some spots where they're mixing 16th and 8th notes together in the same measure and the same beat, so you just need to make sure that you count those rhythms really carefully and play those bowings accurately. If you play a slightly wrong rhythm, it might not necessarily sound wrong, but it might get your bow moving in the wrong direction so that you're not going to match the rest of your section. And so we want to make sure that we're really clear with playing the 8th notes and 16th notes accurately. And then there are a few dotted rhythms in the first melody, which you will play at 5. So watch out for those dotted 8th, 16th notes and make sure that you are subdividing 16th notes with those. And then as we get into the second part of the piece, the second half of the page, there are a few spots where you're moving from bowing to pizzicato really quickly. And you might find that you don't yet have the coordination to get from one to the other in time. So that is totally okay. Don't worry about that. What you'll want to do is, if you can't make the transition in time to get both the last bowed note and the first pizzicato note, or vice versa, decide which one you're going to skip. And in general, if you're playing by yourself, it's best to skip the pizzicato note because those ones are less audible. But if you're in an orchestra, you definitely are going to want to have some people in the orchestra covering those pizzicato notes and maybe skipping the last bowed note. But not a concern if you're not able to get them both at this point. The more you practice that, the quicker you'll get at it. Okay, so let's give this a try. Now the tempo in the score for this one is 104 beats per minute for the quarter note. The tempo in Smart Music is actually slightly faster, it's 107. You will notice if you do, you can change the tempo in Smart Music, but it does kind of create a distorted and warbly sound, and so you might not find it as effective to practice with Smart Music when you've changed the tempo, just because there's some distortion in the sound quality. So my recommendation is to start this at a slower tempo. I would say 80 beats per minute is a good place to start, and then as you get used to that tempo and you've learned every section of the song at that tempo, then work on building up the tempo until you can play it at 107 with Smart Music. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and put the metronome on just to establish the tempo, and then we'll go through each little section of this piece at 80 beats per minute, and then I'll play it up to tempo so you can hear what it sounds like with the rest of the parts. So from the beginning. make sure that we do the retake after the second measure. If you're doing the rhythm and the bowing accurately, you should end up bow for the second measure. So that was a down bow, and then a quick lift of the bow. So you're not backwards on your bowing for the next measure. That is important. And there's a couple of spots in this piece where you need to do that. Anytime you have a retake, that's when they put the comma over the space after the note. You need to take the time for that out of the note before it, not out of the note after it. So we need to make that quarter note a little bit shorter, and then give yourself time to get back to the frog for the 16th notes that follow. Continuing, measure 5. This is the melody, which you will play along with the second violins. Notice how I'm putting a little bit of separation between the eighth notes, and I'm making the quarter notes really nice and solid. That's the style you want to use for this song. Next part is an accompaniment part. You have staccato quarter notes, so maybe even a little bit shorter, and mezzo piano, so not super loud here. So now you have a forte passage again that gets loud again here at 13. This is the second part of the melody, and the first violins are playing the melody here. You are supporting it with some harmony. Here we go. Remember to dig in when you get down to the C string, and the C natural that you see in measure 14 and in measure 16, that just tells you you do not need to use high third finger. If you did not have that C natural, it would be a C sharp high third finger, but it's the C natural makes it your normal regular third finger, not high. Let's go ahead and do measure 17, which is the same notes that you just played, but now piano instead of forte. So when it's piano in this, you don't want it all the way at the tip, but you want it a little bit above the middle of the bow. So just a few inches further up the bow will help you to make that dynamic change. At 21, you have now 2 measures of rest, and then we are getting close to that key change now. So 2 measures of rest, and then you play and 2 and 3. 2, 3. So let's go ahead and talk through that. You have, again, C natural, so not high third finger, just normal third finger there, and that's because now it's in the key signature, C natural. And then they do give you a courtesy accidental for that F natural, reminding you low second finger for that one. Okay, let's go ahead and do it at the pickup to 29. Notice there is a key change at measure 29, so you're back in D major. And they do also give you a few C naturals on the G string coming up. So you really don't have to do any of the high third finger on the G string in this song. They've made all those C natural. A couple of other things in this section. You do have some pretty quick transitions between arco and pits. So do not worry if you can't get both of the notes in time. Just go ahead and leave one or the other out as you're playing this if you're not quick enough. And then eventually you'll be able to do that transition quicker. There's also a couple of retakes at the ends of the measures, 38 and 39. Make sure whenever you see those commas at the end, you give it a little extra space, and then do a down bow after the retakes. Okay, here we go. Pick up to 29. So when you get to figures like what you have at 37, just really important that you're really figuring out the rhythm on each and every beat. So even slower, it would be. those are a little bit complicated, and you might need to slow it down to an even slower tempo just to make sure that you are getting all the correct bow strokes. Now let's go ahead and try it with smart music up to tempo. You have a good time practicing Goin to Boston. It's a really fun song to play once you get it up to tempo, especially. And just make sure that you're being careful of getting the rhythms accurate, that you're making sure that those finger patterns are correct for the C natural, C sharps, things like that. And remembering to do the bowing that is indicated, including the retake. So have fun and happy practicing.